Walz finally picked up the phone. He spoke to President Trump. Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. Walz, a lame duck, under investigation over Somali fraud and under intense pressure from the Minnesota business community. He can't afford to have George Floyd-style riots again. The president hopes he and Walz can work together.
It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. We hope Governor Walz will do the right thing.
The president is shaking up personnel, dispatching border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis and Chief of Border Patrol Greg Bovino, who had been providing backup to ICE, will be going back to the border. The administration is looking for calm and cooperation after a deadly altercation Saturday. ICE was zeroing in on a foreign fugitive from Ecuador, wanted for domestic assault, when anti-ICE agitators pinned agents down in a narrow street. Border Patrol was attempting to remove the mob when a guy with a concealed gun physically confronted Border Patrol and resisted arrest. Viewer warning, this is graphic.
The people! The is wrong with you? Honestly!
The shooting's now under investigation, and body cameras are being reviewed. When Alex Preddy approached the agents, he was packing a fully loaded 6-hour 9mm handgun with 2 full mags. He did have a concealed carry permit. Reports say he did not have an ID on him, and we don't know whether he alerted officers that he was carrying, which is what everybody with a concealed carry permit is instructed to do when encountered by law enforcement. Resisting arrest with a loaded gun is incredibly dangerous. Video of the shooting shows agents yelling "gun, gun, gun" during the struggle. One video is believed to show an agent removing Alex Preddy's weapon before the shooting, but it's still unclear. DHS is investigating whether Alex Preddy's gun may have accidentally discharged. This particular pistol has a history of accidental misfires that may have triggered Border Patrol to defend themselves with deadly force. It's a very loud, violent, and chaotic scene. And these are the types of things that happen, unfortunately and sadly, when you bring a loaded gun to a dangerous immigration raid, confront agents, and resist arrest. We wish it hadn't come to this. Lawyers will be determining whether the shooting was justified, but the Minneapolis police chief doesn't care.
Even if there is an investigation that ultimately proves that at the time of the shooting it was legally justified, I don't think that even matters at this point, because there is so much outrage and concern around what is happening in the city. People have had enough.
Immediately after the shooting, anti-ICE activists descended onto the scene and made mayhem. Go. Hey! Some protesters seem to have a death wish. Watch.
The kids, shoot us in the face! Shoot me in the head! Why don't you shoot me in the head? You cowards! You're cowards! I'm right here! Kill me!
These aren't your run-of-the-mill, mostly peaceful protesters. One of them bit an immigration agent's finger off, like a cannibal. And last night, broke into the hotel where agents were sleeping. The Minneapolis mob is now pulling a Chaz and barricading themselves with dumpsters into no-go zones. The governor, who has not made any effort to chill out his citizens, told them to choose a side like it was the Civil War.
What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government? Or the side of a mother whose last words were, "I'm not mad at you"?
Walz even framed immigration police as Nazis. Listen.
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota. And there's one person who can end this now.
The Holocaust Museum told Walz to pipe down and stop exploiting the genocide. Illegal aliens aren't Jews. The governor needs some accountability. He's been in open rebellion against the federal government for over a month. He's called immigration police Nazis, Gestapo, told his base to get in their face and to kick him out of the state. He's activated a Minnesota insurgency. Agents have been rammed with cars, kicked, punched, spit on, trapped. Their cars have been looted, and ice balls and fireworks have been hurled at their heads. They've stormed into churches and injured and doxxed dozens of officers. This insurgency is more sophisticated than you think, and it relies on a supportive local population.
Definitely does feel organized to me, and I think you can tell these people are well connected. They are in communication with each other, and they are giving them instructions. This happened all so quickly. People knew where to go, and they are taking commands. This is an organized movement here. There's communication, there's food, there's notices, there's notifications. They got out here in a hurry, and they outnumber this police force probably by about 10 to 1 at this point.
These people are giving aid and comfort to foreign criminals. They're aiding and abetting foreign nationals escaping from justice. They're on encrypted messaging apps, sending each other specific coordinates all day and night. And like jihadists, their leaders don't care if they die. Independent journalist Cam Higbee obtained a video of orders being sent out. Watch this.
The person that just asked for a plate check a minute ago that said 218.
Yeah, it's a white Chevy truck, pickup truck.
Thank you. If you can get documentation, video, or photos of that plate on that car, we can document. Thank you.
Moments before Alex Preddy was shot, this underground resistance was calling in for backup, documenting plates and vehicles. Alex Preddy appears to be a member of this Minnesota Ice Watch. The group's mission is to swarm immigration police and prevent them from arresting dangerous Biden migrants, blocking them in with cars and physically interfering in arrests and crowd control. This movement is lethal to the country and also suicidal. You wouldn't do this with FBI agents or marshals or the NYPD. The consequences would be deadly. Renee Good and Alex Preddy would be alive if Minnesota would stop attacking the Trump administration for doing what voters put him in to do.
Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. Obstructing federal law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal.
What's happening in Minnesota isn't happening anywhere else. Texas, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Missouri, they're all cooperating with the feds. Local law enforcement's detaining bad hombres, and the feds are scooping them up and sending them home. Even raids in other states are conducted in coordination with the locals, who provide crowd control and backup and intel. It's just in Minneapolis and a little bit in Portland, Chicago, and LA, where there's violent resistance, all sanctuary cities. But Keith Ellison's saying they're behaving.
ICE needs to do its job that it is paid to do. We're asking ICE to do its job as we do ours. Nobody in Minnesota is interfering with them.
That's a lie. Only Minnesota state prisons hand over criminal aliens, and that's only after they're convicted and serve sentences. City and county jails don't cooperate at all. They're just releasing criminal aliens back out onto the streets, and it forces ICE to do these dangerous manhunts without backup. So they have to bring in Border Patrol for backup. And Border Patrol doesn't usually work cities. They work deserts. Look at this poll from over the summer. Majority of the country, 65% actually, are against sanctuary cities. 70% of the country says the locals should be cooperating with ICE. This isn't even a partisan issue. Just a small minority who are sacrificing lives to keep criminal aliens in their cities. These blue city streets are mobilizing like it's war.
I'm Kyle. I'm Antifa. I understand that the women who see this are really scared that their husbands are going to go and not come back, and that's real. We can't end this without good men in the streets, armed and ready to protect innocent people from being gunned down by these masked murderers, these fascist occupiers. I need boots on the ground, and I need them prepared to do what needs to be done.
There are hundreds of American citizens, thousands, threatening to kill ICE agents. This is on top of the cartels that have a bounty on their heads. Some of them are acting like kamikazes, like it's suicide by ICE.
Hey, so they're going to kill us anyway, so I think maybe we should just mob them. If you comply, they're going to shoot you. If you try to leave, they're going to shoot you. Mob them, like that. Like full American Revolution, like hiding in trees. I don't know. What
the federal government has sole authority to enforce immigration law all over the country. That's not me saying it, it's the Supreme Court. And these Democrats are inciting mobs to violently resist the federal government. This is what happened during the Civil War. But it's not even half the country. It's just a small faction of hardcore militants, ICE mommies, BLMers, communists, trans radicals, and Antifa who want open borders, the obliteration of capitalism, and the complete overthrow of the Trump administration. These are the people who cheered when Charlie was shot. They hate white men, cops, and are bent on destroying Western civilization. Unchecked migration destroys civilization. Look at Europe. That continent's on its deathbed. They're using mass migration as a weapon to destroy this country. It's why the left wants to abolish ICE. Once Biden let them invade, they boost the census numbers and give Democrats more electoral votes and congressional seats. Mass deportations take that away. That's why they're literally biting off the fingers of ICE agents to try to stop it. And the more offspring they have, the more votes Democrats get. And the more migrants, the more welfare. And that powers the Democrat nonprofit industry that kicks back cash to the politicians' coffers. We caught them dead to rights in Minneapolis with the Somali fraud ring. Walz and his insurgency, they need to cooperate before more people get killed. ICE also has to change tactics. ICE has been in Minneapolis for 6 weeks with barely any backup, and they're way too visible. Folks are crossing state lines to confront them, and now these agitators are coming armed to the teeth. ICE agents are sitting ducks in that city, and like any good boxer knows, you got to stick and move. You can't stand in the middle of the ring forever. All this manpower dedicated to Minneapolis, and we've gotten 3,000 bad hombres out of there in 6 weeks. That's good. 10,000 since last January. That's good. Force a deal with Walz to get cooperation. Force them out with cash if you have to get these known fugitives out cleanly. And then move on to Denver, San Fran, Detroit, wherever you have to go. But don't announce that ICE is coming to town. Be stealthy. You can always go back to Minneapolis when Walz leaves office, which is soon. You can go back there for 3 straight years until every single migrant is out. But we're running the ball down the middle every single play. How about a little play action? Now, if you're going to be dealing with an insurgency like this in Minneapolis, you got to bring in a task force. I'm talking marshals, Treasury, Homeland. You arrest everyone obstructing, and then you follow the money and make arrests. If you have a targeted operation on a city street, you cordon the block off so the mob can't get close and trap and harass and hurt you. It's safer for you, and it's safer for them. But the president can't be run out of town. That'll tell every sanctuary city that attacks on ICE agents will force them into retreat. And then you have a confederacy of sanctuary states that are black holes of crime and migrants. And that'll sink the country. And that's what they want. The president looks like he's finessing this and fulfilling the mandate. The president's already achieved record low illegal immigration and record low crime. Minneapolis can't slow him down.
All right, Garrett, we have the rest of that horrifying tape coming up. We'll play it in full. As you can see, Minneapolis, Minnesota is once again back in the news, and for all the wrong reasons. Let me start with this. I'm very pro-life. It is always sad and tragic when someone dies. We simply do not have all the facts and details, even with all the videos that have been released. And unlike the legacy media mob, we will not rush to judgment. We still have a lot of facts to gather. At the same time, you know what? We're going to start with all of this and where it developed. And the facts, as they're developing, we'll bring them all to you live tonight. Now, President Trump has decided to allow Minnesota to conduct an independent investigation, at least according to Tim-Walz. We'll check in with Congressman Emmer on that in a minute. And now communication lines are open between the president and Minnesota officials. Finally, take a look.
President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number one, Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number two, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota.
Now, if true, that's good news, but trust but verify. Unfortunately, the Democratic Party, along with the legacy media mob, is once again weaponizing and politicizing a person's death. Now, if we're going to fully understand this weekend, we need to go back a full 5 years. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, and Democrats, night after night, right here on this program for 4 straight years. We showed you all of these videos, millions and millions and millions of illegals, 12 million plus from over 200 countries, flooding into our country unvetted. And as you look at these videos, I want you to listen to Joe and Kamala and Mayorkas saying to the American people for 4 years over and over again, lying, the border's closed, the border's secure. You want to know how we got where we are this weekend? You got to start here.
Reference to secure the border, southern border is working.
It is my testimony that the border is secure.
We agree that the border is secure.
That sounds to most folks like a crisis.
Well, look, it's way down now. We've now gotten control.
The border is closed.
Nor could I have been clearer and continue to be so, which is the border is closed.
Would you call the border secure?
I think that there is no question that we have to do what the president and I asked Congress to do. Is the first request we made. Pass a bill to create a pathway to citizenship. The border is secure.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
I haven't been to Europe. I haven't been to China either. Over 12 million plus unvetted illegal immigrants, known terrorists among them, murderers among them, rapists, pedophiles, other violent criminals, cartel members, gang members, drug dealers. That's who came into this country. Donald Trump was elected in large part to clean this mess up. It's the single most preventable national security disaster ever in our history, caused by the Democrats. And if they weren't talking about it, lying about it, they were silent. They were complicit in their silence, or they just went along with the big lie. Borders closed, borders secure, when we knew it wasn't. Look at the video on your screen. That was every day for 4 years. Now, let's look at how successful that ICE has been in Minnesota alone. This is all of these people that are threatening and inciting violence against ICE agents and hurling rocks and expletive at them. Look at all these unvetted Harris Biden illegals just from Minnesota that have been arrested by brave law enforcement agents, putting their life on the line. All federal law enforcement. Take a look.
Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process. No oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today.
When I see ICE, I see slave patrols.
These ICE agents running around our communities like masked bank robbers, terrorizing women.
ICE federal agents pulling up, terrorizing our communities, hopping out of unmarked vans, stealing and, yes, kidnapping people.
An authoritarian government in Washington, D.C. is dispatching masked agents to abduct immigrants from our streets.
This is Gestapo-like behavior.
There should be no question to what our country would look like had the Confederacy won.
It does look like a Gestapo operation.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons.
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
See all these people? Murderers, rapists, child molesters, other sex offenders, domestic abusers, drug dealers among them. It's all there on the DHS website. Look at all of them. That's Minnesota. And that's the thanks these agents get for risking their lives being smeared and slandered, called Nazis and Gestapo. You know, look, use a comparison. Now, Obama, April 27, 2015, CBS News reported, quote, ICE officer faced with threat fatally shoots 20-year-old man in Detroit. How many of you know the name of that man? That was 2015. Obama was president. Where are all the riots? Where are all the comparisons to Nazi Germany and Gestapo? Where was the dramatic social media posts as he was sending out mostly nonviolent illegals in the country? And when was the last time you saw a Democrat up in arms about the weekly shootings in Chicago? Remember Renee Good killed after she accelerated her car at that ICE agent and the shooting that took place? That was January 7th. Since then, 20 people in Obama's hometown of Chicago have been shot, and including January 18th, 7 people fatally shot in just 18 hours. Do any of you know any of their names? And we can show you similar numbers in L.A., New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, other major cities across the country. Where are the demonstrations for those lost souls? Where is the outrage? Does anyone know their names? No. Why? Because they can't weaponize and politicize those deaths in their lawless deep blue cities and states, their sanctuary cities and states, and they can't blame Donald Trump. So they say nothing and do nothing, which brings us back to the very reason that ICE exists, contrary to what Democrats would have you believe. Now, there are real victims of illegal immigration. Oh, we know some of their names, not most of them. Lake and Riley's. We know Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin. You know, raped, killed, criminal, illegal immigrants, unvetted by Harris, Biden, Mayorkas. Democrats, they didn't even stand up. They would not stand up and honor them when President Trump honored their families at a joint session of Congress speech that he gave. Every day, ICE is working to prevent more Americans from becoming victims, but it's not easy, is it? dating back decades, there have been numerous ICE officials shot and killed in the line of duty. They don't talk about that. And now they are also forced to contend with an angry mob of frankly, stalkers that are being incited by so-called leaders in Minnesota, leaders in the Democratic Party. Take a listen.
Fucking fascist pig. You should fucking kill yourself. I hope your wife dies. I hope your mom and dad die. I hope everything wrong that could go in your life happens. I hope you have the most miserable life. I hope you get hit by a bus. You are a traitor to the American people, to the values that made our very country. You should kill yourself. You're fucking disgusting. I hate you. Everyone hates you. You're a fucking murderer, and all of your friends are fucking murderers, and your bosses are a bunch of pedophiles. Kill yourself.
So how did the mob get this way? Whipped into a frenzy by Democrats that caused the problem, lied about the problem, in many cases aided and abetted illegals with their sanctuary city and state policies, offering taxpayer-funded benefits they didn't deserve, refusing to cooperate with law enforcement whose job it is to enforce our laws, demonizing these brave men and women. In Minneapolis, left-wing agitators are now tracking ICE agent locations, stalking their every move, blocking their vehicles, assaulting officers, pelting them with rocks and bottles. Another ICE agent lost his finger, as we reported earlier. Why? A protester bit him. Over the weekend, a violent mob surrounded that and trashed that hotel. We've reported on that earlier as well. But as Fox News has been telling you, and as Fox News has been reporting, there might be more than meets the eye. According to an encrypted messages that are obtained by Fox, we have organized far-left socialist, communist, Marxist groups are heavily coordinating ICE resistance in Minnesota with spotters who distribute detailed lists of possible ICE vehicles, license plates, real-time location of ICE officers to groups of agitators. In other words, what you see on TV in Minnesota may not be organic at all. In fact, ulterior revolutionary motives could be in play. So what can the Trump administration do to restore order while also deporting criminal illegals and making our country more safe and secure?
We're going to turn now back to Minnesota. As chaos continues on the ground, Vice President J.D. Vance took to X to call out those making things worse. Quote, "This level of engineered chaos is unique to Minneapolis. It is the direct consequence of far-left agitators working with local authorities." And it looks like he's right. A Fox News digital investigation found encrypted signal messages showing anti-ICE, quote, rapid responders were actively tracking federal agents outside of Glam Doll Donuts. That's where 37-year-old Alex Preddy was shot. They were documenting alleged ICE vehicles in the area and keeping track of them in a database. And within hours, Fox Digital reports, networks involved in these chats leveraged the tragic fatality into a nationwide protest operation. So joining me now is Minnesota State Representative Walter Hudson. Representative Hudson, it's good to see you again. So let's just clarify what we're learning and what we're seeing here together. And it may come as a surprise or no surprise to you. This is not a spontaneous protest. It's not a spontaneous, passionate eruption of emotion. This is organized behind the scenes. This is coordinated.
Well, that's something that's been apparent and kind of intuitively perceived by a lot of us for a long time. But these recent revelations with the receipts coming from these encrypted signal chats, and then there's a lot of other information that's being dumped out there on X by citizen investigators and journalists, and of course, outlets like your own, that are putting the receipts next to the claims that indeed this is not just, your Aunt Martha going down to a park to hold a sign and express her mind. This is a coordinated attempt to engage in organized crime. The crime specifically is the impediment of federal officers, which is a violation of U.S. code.
Yes. It's been incredible reporting done on this by Fox News Digital and Cam Higbee. They also have gathered together various instruction manuals on what to do and how to, as to your point, impede law enforcement. Also, Representative, there's some indication that there are elected state officials involved in these signal chat groups. One state representative, I believe in particular, has not denied the claim. So does that come as a surprise to you? And what does that mean if there are elected officials participating in this, whatever we're going to call this, insurgency?
Well, I laugh as you ask me if it comes as a surprise, because on Christmas Day, Brad Tapke, the representative in question, who I believe you're referencing, was out posting on Facebook publicly that he was out and about searching for ICE. So no, this is no surprise whatsoever. And of course, we still need to go through the names and do vetting and make sure that things aren't being doctored and what have you. But it seems to indicate that it's not just a few activists, but we're talking about folks who are known political operatives who actually work within the Democrat Party infrastructure, along with potentially multiple elected officials who have been, again, engaging in this conspiracy to commit federal crimes.
What does that mean? Just before we go, I mean, to have elected representatives coordinating, organizing, to your point, what amounts to federal crime?
If you're impeding law enforcement, that's a crime under U.S. code. If you are undermining the sovereignty of the United States federal government, you are violating the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution. And that is very understandably potentially defined as insurrection. And I believe that's what we're experiencing right now, is an ongoing, organized, not trying to hide it, insurrection in the state of Minnesota. And whatever progress President Trump is making with Governor Walz, which I'm slightly skeptical about just because I know Walz is so slippery, I hope it doesn't preclude holding all of these people to account.
And for the record, that wasn't the name that I was thinking of. I was thinking of another name, which would only suggest there's possibly more than one elected representative participating in this organization. All right, Representative Hudson, thanks for being with us here today. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.